Welcome back to America Right Now. I'm Tom Basile. All right, go with me here for a minute, folks. The Republican presidential primary season is effectively over, and the Trump-Biden rematch is largely set. Now, I'm sure you would agree that from the moment Donald Trump came down that golden escalator in 2015, the left-wing corporate media has been on the attack.
Trump is acting like a third-world dictator here.
Wannabe dictator like Donald Trump.
Donald Trump continues to behave like an itinerant dictator.
Donald Trump is out. He's acting like a dictator.
All right, but now that he's the Republican nominee for the third time, could that change? It's a question likely driving at least some boardroom conversations right now as networks and major news outlets prepare for the political fight ahead. Donald Trump, folks, is pure television gold.
All I can say is that the fake news just doesn't get it, do they? They don't get it.
We're going to be up here on November 5th, and we're going to look at Joe Biden, and we're going to look him right in the eye. He's destroying our country, and we're going to say, Joe, you're fired. Get out. Get out, Joe. You're fired.
Now, unlike President Biden, who went from the basement in 2020 to thin public schedules and naps in the White House residence, Mr. Trump will bring energy, press conferences, access, and breaking news events back to the presidency. There's going to be sparring with the media, quotable one-liners, quips, and yes, new nicknames for those banner waves on cable news networks. Even late-night television's left-wing hosts will have fodder for monologues and not have to worry about offending their younger audiences. Of course, there are going to be conspiracy theories and reams of news stories about Mr. Trump being a threat to democracy and perhaps even another round of Russia, Russia, Russia. With a second Trump presidency, arguably, more people will be watching MSDNC, reading the New York Times, subscribing to the Washington Post. CNN, which has seen its ratings collapse as they moved further to the left, could even see a revival. With more people watching, advertisers pay more, and beleaguered news divisions that are laying off hundreds of people have a chance to crawl their way back into the black.
I watch ABC, CBS, NBC. I mean, it's so, I don't even talk about CNN because nobody watches them anymore. MSDNC is horrible, horrible. But fortunately, not a lot of people are watching them anymore. They've tuned out. But the press has to straighten itself out. You know, they're all doing badly, and they're doing badly because they're fake news.
A second Trump administration also means an open seat for wall-to-wall election coverage and advertising in 2028, and that's worth billions of dollars. Don't think that this decision-making isn't happening. Journalism is a business. It's always been a business. It's always been about getting eyeballs, selling newspapers and subscriptions, and driving ad sales revenue. Certainly, as legitimate journalism has been largely abandoned for advocacy in left-wing newsrooms driving socialist, atheist, anti-American agendas, business considerations have been supplanted, and that's had real negative financial consequences. It's a genuine conundrum behind the scenes of the fake news. Provide fairer coverage to Mr. Trump and make their bottom lines great again, or continue to ride the left-wing advocacy toward balance sheets dripping in red. A second Joe Biden term will certainly provide the media with an ideological victory. There will be more woke, more socialist policies, more cancel culture, more outrage, and more working overtime to explain away the disengagement of an increasingly pliant leader who is failing both mentally and physically. But as the data has shown over the last number of years, that's not going to make for engaging photos, video, and content. That's not going to drive viewers and readers. Now, true, there may be a midterm resignation, giving the nation the first woman president, Kamala Harris, someone who checks a whole bunch of intersectionality boxes. The top DEI hire in the country actually becoming president would be a real story. Right now, media executives are likely plotting out that scenario as part of a big editorial decision, to be sure. The other choice, which is perhaps even more immediate for the fake news, is whether to encourage a floor fight at the Democrat National Convention in Chicago to replace Biden with a younger, more electable nominee. The media could choose to fuel a fight within the Democratic Party that yields a candidate that they will no doubt frame as a new, exciting figure in the party. Hours of airtime and innumerable column inches would then be dedicated to this political rags to riches story that they would concoct out of nothing. That would be compelling. It would drive interest in coverage, even potentially among Republican and conservative voters. As the longest general election in American presidential campaigns gets underway, despite the epidemic of Trump derangement syndrome among the press, producers, writers, and editors might just get the memo to back off even just a bit in the hopes for a big return to the glory days when they can frame every utterance from the White House as a looming catastrophe for the nation. Time will tell how the left's parrots in the press and big tech will decide to handle 2024. If they make the wrong choice here, of course, Americans have a choice too in all of this. They can choose to keep abandoning legacy corporate media in favor of outlets like Newsmax and independent, honest journalism.